Hey everybody, welcome to this lesson on the labor market. This lesson will be, first of all, discussing kind of generally what the labor market is, how it breaks down, meaning, what is the labor force, who's not in the labor force, what does it mean to be employed or unemployed. Then we'll talk a little bit about what it means, what is a nominal wage versus a real wage, then how to calculate earnings, compensation, and income, and what the difference is between those three. Then we'll start talking about the supply and demand for labor. In this lesson, we're not going to take a deep dive on either one of those. We're really just going to introduce them, talk about some key elements, and then in the following lessons, we'll get into, we'll have a whole lesson on the demand for labor, then we'll have a whole lesson on the supply for labor. So this labor portion of this course is really going to last 3 lessons, okay? So let's jump in. So we often hear the word unemployed or the unemployment rate. We see it in the news, we hear about it, but what does it really mean? To understand that, you really have to understand how we break down the entire population with respect to labor. So first of all, when we're talking about labor, the population refers to anybody who is 16 years old or higher or older, okay? It doesn't include kids, basically. Okay, so you can see, and this is the figures you see here, the red ones are for Canada, the most up-to-date that I could find. So as of 2024, there's about 32.2 million people in Canada that are age 16 and over, right? It doesn't stop at 65. We often think, and they'll often try and trick you on an exam where they'll talk about seniors. Well, seniors are still considered as part of the population, okay? So they're still considered of working age, even if you're 70 or 75. Now, the population breaks down into 2 categories, the labor force and those that are not in the labor force. The labor force refers to anybody who is either working, we call them the employed, or who is looking for work. Somebody who, so the definition of being unemployed is very specific. It doesn't just mean you don't have a job, because that's kind of vague. Somebody who's unemployed is somebody who does not have a job, sure, but that is actively looking for one. Somebody who wants a job but cannot find one. That is the definition of unemployed. If you don't have a job because you don't want one, because you're in school, because you're retired, because you have a disability, whatever, you are actually in this category. You're not in the labor force at all, okay? So make sure you understand that to be unemployed, you have to be part of the labor force. And when we talk about the unemployment rate is a percentage of the labor force and not a percentage of the population, which is what a lot of people think, right? A lot of times you hear in the news that the unemployment rate is 8%, and you think, 8% of the entire country is unemployed. Well, that's not true. If the unemployment rate is 8%, it means that 8% of the labor force, 8% of the people who want to work cannot find work, okay? So there's really 2 formulas here. There's the unemployment rate, which I just talked about. It's the number of unemployed divided by the labor force. And then there's something called the labor force participation rate, which is a ratio of the labor force to the population. And it essentially just tells us what percentage of the people who are old enough to work actually want to work. So what percentage of the population is participating in the labor force? So the first exercise we'll do is on that, just to get you guys a little bit warmed up so you can see these formulas. So here you've been given a list, you've been given some data, the population of all ages, population age 15 and less, population age 65 and higher, employed, unemployed. Right off the bat, we can group these 2 together, and that would give us our labor force, right? When you add up the employed and the unemployed, you get the labor force. That would be 20.3. We can also take the population of all ages and deduct from it those that are aged 15 and less. So if I do 38.93 minus 6.73, I get a population of 32.2. I'm not going to do anything with those that are age 65 and higher because I'm not trying to exclude them, right? They should be included in the population. Okay, now what is the labor force participation rate? Well, the answer here is simply the labor force divided by the population. So 20.3 divided by 32.2. 20.3 divided by 32.2 is 0.6304. So it's about 63%, 63.04%. Next, the unemployment rate. That's just the unemployed over the labor force. So 1.1 divided by 20.3, 1.1 divided by 20.3 is about 0.054, which is 5.4%. Okay, so you need to know the breakdown, right? How everything shakes out, like what two things can I add together or subtract to get, something else here. And then you want to know these two formulas. And with that, you should be able to tackle pretty much any question they throw at you in this topic, okay? Now, let's have a chat about wages and earnings and what all that means. First of all, the wage rate, the word wage, is simply an amount that somebody is paid for a unit of time. So it could be an hourly wage, it could be a daily wage, it could be a weekly wage, it can even be an annual wage. Like when you hear about a salary, that's really just a wage on an annual basis, right? But there's two things. There's a nominal wage, which is the actual number, and it's kind of like nominal prices and real prices that we saw in the very first in the very first chapter. So a nominal wage is the wage expressed in today's dollars, right? What are you actually being paid today in whatever year it is? But the real wage is taking that wage and expressing it in terms of another year's dollars, effectively removing the inflation between the current year and whatever your base year is. And we look at the real wage when we want to know, have people's purchasing powers risen or have they actually gotten worse, right? So just because you're getting paid more this year than you were last year doesn't necessarily mean you're better off, right? Because depending on inflation, you might be getting more money, but you might actually have a lower purchasing power if your income hasn't increased by at least the same amount as inflation. So we can use real wages to figure that part out. Now, the formula you see here is pretty much the same formula you would use whenever you're calculating a real price. So just to show you an example, you have these 3 years. And the question is, in which of the following years did people earn the highest wage? Well, if you don't know this, you might look at that and say, well, obviously it's 2010, the wage is 1940. But in reality, what you need to do, if I follow this formula, is we're going to divide each of these by their CPI, and then I'm going to multiply each of them by 100, because we learned in one of the earlier topics that the CPI of the base year, right, is 100. So 6.85 divided by 82.4 times 100 is 8.31. And the important thing here, honestly, the only thing that really matters is that you use the same base year for all of them. Like I used 100 here, but you could have used anything you wanted as long as you use the same for all of them, because the goal is to compare them all in the same, using the same base year, right? So times 100, this is 7.8. So right off the bat, you can see that in 1990, even though the wage was quite a bit higher, in real terms, it was less. People were worse off in 1990 than they were in 1980, even though they were getting paid more. And then last one. Oh, and then in 2010, it's 8.55. So actually in 2010, people had the highest wage, but look at the difference. It's almost the same. Your purchasing power in real terms went up by about 24 cents between 1980 and 2010, even though the wage tripled. Now, a little bit more on wages. In English, we often will use the words like wages and earnings and compensation and income interchangeably. But in reality, they're not the same thing. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what the difference is between each one. So wage, like we said earlier, is just the amount you're paid per unit of time. Now, if you take that wage and you multiply it by the amount of time you work, you get earnings. So earnings is really just the amount you're paid for your time. Now, if you add to earnings any benefits, you get your total compensation. So what are benefits? Benefits are anything you get from your employer that isn't cash. Anything you get of value that is not cash. So for example, if you get vacation time off, that's a benefit. If you get health insurance, that's a benefit. If they contribute to your retirement plan or to your pension plan, that's a benefit. If you get a gym membership, that's a benefit. If you get a car allowance, if you get a car to use for work, that's a benefit. Anything that you receive from your employer that is not actual cash, that is not your paycheck, those are benefits. And you have really two kinds. You have payments in kind, which is when you receive something, services, or you have deferred payments. This is really for the retirement, where it's cash, but you're only going to get it once you retire. So once you put all that together, you get your total compensation. And then on top of that, if you add any unearned income to your compensation, then you get your total income. So unearned income is anything that you make, any money you make outside of your job without having to really trade your time for it. So any return